Right, gentlemen, let me ask you something rather personal. Have you ever been lying there with your partner, absolutely wanting to give her pleasure, but no matter what you tried, she just didn't seem to get aroused the way you'd hoped? Perhaps it felt like you were putting in the effort, but she wasn't warming up. Or maybe you felt rushed, unsure if what you were doing was even turning her on. I want you to know something important. You're not alone in this. Not by a long shot. In fact, over my 25 years working as a consultant urologist here in London, almost every single man I've worked with has asked me the exact same question. Dr. Wright, what's the one kind of foreplay that actually works? And after a quarter century of helping men and couples navigate these challenges, I can tell you there absolutely is a method that works for the vast majority of women. Not only does it build arousal reliably, it makes her feel deeply connected, safe, and truly desired. And here's the brilliant part. It's not complicated, it doesn't require hours of effort, and when you get it right, it rarely fails. Now, before we dive in properly, do me a favor and hit that like button. It genuinely helps other men find this video. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from today. I'd love to see the different places we're connecting from. And of course, subscribe so you don't miss future videos on men's health. Right then, let's get started. But first, I'm going to do something a bit different today. Instead of making you wait through 10 minutes of build-up, I'm going to give you the answer straight away. Then we'll break down why it works, what mistakes to avoid, and how to personalize it. Because I know many of you clicked on this video wanting the solution, not a lengthy preamble. So here it is, the single most powerful, reliable form of foreplay I've taught over the past 25 years is something I call full body-to-body flow. Instead of focusing on one isolated area, you use your entire body, your chest, your stomach, your arms, your hands, your mouth, your face, to flow over her slowly, sensually, and intentionally. Imagine it like a dance. Your whole body gliding over hers, kissing, caressing, holding, breathing her in. You're not poking or prodding at specific spots. You're enveloping her, surrounding her in sensation. Let me break this down into practical steps you can use tonight. Start with presence. Before you even touch her, ground yourself. Slow your breathing. Look into her eyes and let her feel your focus. Women can sense when you're distracted, and it absolutely kills the mood. Use multiple points of contact as you flow over her. Don't just use your hands, let your chest press against her back. Brush your stomach along her thighs. Kiss deeply whilst your hands explore her hips. The more points of contact, the more enveloped she feels. Vary your pace and pressure. Don't get robotic about it. Sometimes glide slowly, other times a bit firmer. Use your hands to squeeze gently, your mouth to kiss softly, then deepen it. This unpredictability keeps her nervous system alert and excited. Target erogenous zones in sequence. Her neck, collarbone, sides, thighs, lower stomach. These areas build arousal when touched in a flowing rhythm. Think of it like connecting dots on a map, rather than circling just one spot. Blend your techniques seamlessly. Kissing becomes licking. Licking becomes a playful bite. Your chest shifts into your hands. Your hands into your lips. It's one continuous movement, not a stop-start routine. Now, here's why this works so brilliantly. Biologically speaking, the skin is actually the largest sexual organ. When you stimulate a massive surface area at once, her neck, hips, thighs, stomach, back, you flood her brain with sensation signals. Her nervous system lights up, priming her genitals for arousal naturally. Emotionally, full body flow tells her something crucial. I want all of you, not just one part. She feels desired, safe, and cherished. That safety melts resistance, and desire takes its place. Practically speaking, it means you're not rushing through a checklist. You're genuinely enjoying her, and she can feel that. Right, now that you know the technique, let me explain why I'm so confident recommending this. For those of you who are new here, my name is Dr. Amelia Wright. I'm a consultant urologist. And for the past 25 years, I've worked closely with men and couples in my London practice to solve intimacy problems, rebuild confidence, and improve sexual health naturally. I've seen everything from performance anxiety to erectile dysfunction to couples who haven't been intimate in years. I've had men in my consulting room, some of them sitting exactly where you might be now, feeling embarrassed, frustrated, wondering if they've lost their edge. And I've learned that real solutions aren't about gimmicks or pills pushed by pharmaceutical companies. They're about understanding the human body, respecting the emotional side of intimacy, and creating genuine connection through technique and communication. I remember one particular gentleman, a lovely chap in his late 60s, who came to see me absolutely devastated. He'd been married 42 years, and he told me, "Dr. Wright, I feel like I don't know my own wife anymore. Nothing I do seems to work." We talked for nearly an hour, and do you know what the real problem was? He'd been jumping straight to what he thought women wanted, based on some magazine article he'd read decades ago. Once I taught him this full-body approach, and, crucially, how to communicate with his wife about it, he came back 3 months later, looking 10 years younger. He actually brought his wife flowers to thank me, which was rather sweet. Now, before I show you how to avoid the common pitfalls, let me address something I know some of you are thinking. Dr. Wright, this all sounds lovely, but what about her responsibility in this? Where's the reciprocity? And you're absolutely right to ask. Sex isn't a one-way street. It's a partnership, a dance between two people. But here's what I've learned over 25 years of clinical practice. When you create that initial spark of arousal, when she feels genuinely desired and safe, she naturally wants to reciprocate. The full body flow isn't about putting all the responsibility on you forever. It's about creating the conditions where both of you feel connected, present, and engaged. Once that foundation is there, everything else flows naturally in both directions. If you find she's not reciprocating over time, that's not a technique problem. That's a communication conversation you need to have together, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Right then, let's clear out the 4 mistakes almost every man makes during foreplay, because if you're doing these, even just a little bit, you'll hold her back from feeling the pleasure she's capable of. And I see these mistakes in my practice constantly. Mistake number 1, jumping straight to oral sex. I know many men think this is the ultimate foreplay move. It's what you see in films. It's what you hear mates talking about down the pub. But here's the problem. If she isn't already aroused, her genitals aren't properly sensitive yet. Instead of pleasure, she may feel pressure, discomfort, or frankly, nothing at all. Think of it like trying to start a car engine before the oil has warmed up. It simply doesn't flow properly. Oral sex can be absolutely fantastic, but it's not the warm-up. It's the bridge to what comes after. I've had women tell me in confidence, and this is important for you to hear, that they've faked enjoying oral sex early in the encounter because they felt pressured or didn't want to hurt their partner's feelings. That's not what any of us want. Mistake number 2, relying on overly gentle touching. Many men try to be romantic with light strokes or soft caresses. The intention is lovely, truly it is. But if the touch is too faint, it feels ticklish, not arousing. On the other hand, if it's too rough or grabby, it breaks the mood entirely. Arousal needs touch that's alive, responsive, intentional, and engaging the whole body, not just random strokes here and there. I had a patient once describe his approach to me, and he said, "Doctor, I stroke her arm like I'm petting a cat." I had to gently explain that's precisely the problem. Mistake number 3, using massage as foreplay. Now, don't get me wrong, massage can be wonderful. It relaxes her, eases tension, and sets a lovely stage. But massage alone isn't arousal. It slows things down too much and keeps her in what I call a spa mindset, not a sexual one. Yes, you can absolutely weave massage into the flow, but by itself, it won't light that spark. She'll feel relaxed, possibly even fall asleep, but not aroused. There's a time and place for massage, and it's brilliant for stress relief. But it's not foreplay in the truest sense. Mistake number 4, over-relying on mental stimulation, dirty talk, teasing, playful conversation. These can be fun additions, particularly if you've been together a long time and want to add variety. But they keep her in her head. And true arousal isn't primarily a thought process. It's a physical awakening of the body. If you stay in her head too long, she may enjoy the verbal game, but never actually feel the physical fire building. I've had couples tell me they spent 20 minutes talking about what they were going to do, and by the time they got to it, the moment had passed entirely. Do any of those mistakes sound familiar? Don't worry if they do. You're not alone, and you're certainly not a lost cause. But now that you know the technique and the mistakes to avoid, let me give you the bits that will make this truly work for your specific relationship. Here's something absolutely crucial that I don't see discussed enough in these sorts of videos. You must read her responses. If her breathing gets heavier, lean into what you're doing. If she tenses or pulls back, ease up. Some nights she may want deep, passionate flow. Other nights, a slower, more emotional rhythm. The core technique stays the same. The settings change based on her state that particular evening. This isn't a one-size-fits-all script you perform robotically. It's a responsive dance. I always tell the men in my practice, imagine you're a musician playing an instrument. The instrument is the same, but the song you play depends on the mood, the moment, the energy between you both. And this brings me to something vital that several of you mentioned in the comments of my previous videos. Communication. The lack of good open adult communication is often the real problem underneath all the technique questions. So let me give you a practical framework. Before you try this approach, have a conversation with your partner. Not in the bedroom, not when things are already heading in that direction. Over a cup of tea, on a walk, somewhere neutral and comfortable. You might say something like this. Darling, I've been thinking about our intimate life, and I want to make sure you're feeling as much pleasure as possible. I've learned about a different approach to foreplay that focuses on full body connection. Would you be open to trying it together? And here's the key. Can you guide me and let me know what feels best as we go? This does 2 things. First, it shows her you care about her pleasure specifically, not just going through motions. Second, it gives her permission to communicate in the moment without feeling like she'll hurt your feelings. Because here's the truth, gentlemen, if she can't tell you what feels good and what doesn't, you're both flying blind. And nobody wins in that scenario. Now, let's talk about how to keep this fresh, so it doesn't become another routine that loses its spark. Don't overuse it. If you do the exact same flow every single time, it'll start to feel like a script, and scripts get boring. Instead, vary your positions. Try it with her on top, spooning, standing, side by side. Change up your rhythm. Sometimes slow and deliberate, other times more urgent and passionate. Keep it alive and responsive to the moment. I had a couple in their early 70s tell me they'd been married 48 years, and after implementing this approach with variations, they felt like they were discovering each other again. That's the goal. Let me pause here and speak from the heart for a moment. Many of you watching this, especially those of you who are a bit older, might be feeling anxious about intimacy. You might wonder if you've lost your edge, if you can still turn your partner on, or if perhaps passion is just something from your younger days. Let me tell you clearly and categorically, it is absolutely not too late. I've worked with men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s who've reignited intimacy with their partners using this technique combined with open communication. Why does it work at any age? Because it's not about being 20 years old with endless stamina. It's about connection, presence, and knowing what truly works for a woman's body and heart. If you've been feeling like intimacy is slipping away, please hear this. With just a few adjustments in technique and communication, you can bring it back. You can make her feel alive again and feel that pride and confidence return in yourself. I'll share something personal with you. Early in my career, I was very focused on the clinical medical side of things. Prescriptions, procedures, measurable outcomes. But over the years, I've realized that the men who came to see me weren't just looking for medical solutions. They were looking for hope. They wanted to know they could still be the man their partner desired. They wanted to feel vital, capable, connected. And whilst medication certainly has its place, the real transformations I've witnessed have come from men who were willing to learn, communicate, and approach intimacy as a partnership rather than a performance. There's something else I want to address based on feedback I've received. Some of you have mentioned concerns about supplements and products that get pushed in these videos. Let me be straightforward with you. There are supplements that can support circulation and blood flow, which certainly helps with overall sexual function. Things like nitric oxide boosters made from organic watermelon extract can be beneficial. But, and this is important, supplements are not magic pills. They work best when combined with proper technique, communication, and a healthy lifestyle. If you're interested in exploring that route, speak with your GP or a specialist. Get proper medical advice tailored to your specific health situation. Don't just buy something because a video on the internet told you to. I've been practicing medicine for 25 years, and I can tell you the foundation is always lifestyle, technique, and communication. Everything else is supplementary. Right, let's bring this all together with a practical action plan you can use. The next time you're with your partner, I want you to try this. Forget the checklist approach. Stop worrying about doing the perfect move. Instead, think to yourself, how can I envelop her body right now? Start slowly. Build pressure gradually. Give her body proper time to awaken before targeting her most sensitive areas. Most men rush this. They're too eager to get to the main event. But arousal for women is like bringing water to a boil. It needs time and steady heat. If you crank up the temperature too quickly, you'll just create steam without substance. Stay responsive throughout. Watch her breathing. Listen to her sounds. And I don't mean theatrical moaning from films. I mean her actual breath, the subtle changes in rhythm, the small gasps or sighs. Feel her body language. Does she press into your touch or pull away? Is she relaxing or tensing? These signals tell you everything you need to know. Adjust accordingly in real time. Mix in variety as you go. Play with different speeds, different positions, different orders of touch. Keep it alive and present, never mechanical or routine. And here's something that might surprise you. Sometimes the best thing you can do is pause. Stop entirely for a moment. Look into her eyes. Ask her gently, does this feel good? What would you like more of? That simple question asked with genuine care can be more arousing than any technique because it shows you're truly present with her, not just performing a routine. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, Dr. Wright, this all sounds lovely, but I'm 68 years old, I've got a dodgy back, and I'm not exactly as flexible as I used to be. That's absolutely fine. This technique adapts to your physical capabilities. If you can't hold certain positions, adjust. Use pillows for support. Focus more on your hands and mouth if full body weight is uncomfortable. The principle remains the same. Full body engagement, multiple points of contact, responsive flow. You don't need to be an Olympic athlete to make this work. You just need to be present and intentional. I had a patient in his mid-70s, lovely gentleman, former builder with arthritis in both knees and one hip. He was convinced his intimate life was over. We worked out modifications together. He'd lie on his side, use his hands more prominently, incorporate his voice and breath more deliberately. His wife told me later it was some of the best intimacy they'd had in years because he was so focused and present, despite, or perhaps because of, his physical limitations. Here's another crucial point that doesn't get discussed enough. This technique isn't just about her pleasure in isolation. When you approach intimacy this way, when you're fully present and engaged, you'll likely find your own arousal and satisfaction increase as well. There's something deeply fulfilling about knowing you're giving genuine pleasure. It builds your confidence, it strengthens your connection, and frankly, it makes the entire experience more enjoyable for both of you. That's the reciprocity we talked about earlier. It's not a transaction where you do this and then she does that. It's a shared experience where both of you are engaged, responsive, and present together. Let me share one final story before we wrap up. I had a couple come to see me, married 36 years, and they hadn't been intimate in over 2 years. Not because of any major falling out, but because attempts at intimacy had become so awkward and unsatisfying that they'd both just stopped trying. The husband told me he felt like a failure. The wife, in a separate conversation, said she felt broken. But they weren't failures, and she wasn't broken. They just lost the thread of connection and didn't know how to find it again. We worked on this technique, but more importantly, we worked on communication. I gave them homework, which they found rather amusing. Talk for 10 minutes about intimacy without actually being intimate. Just talk. Build that foundation of openness again. After a few weeks, they tried the full body flow approach. The husband told me it felt awkward at first, almost silly. But as they continued, as they responded to each other, as they let go of performance pressure and just focused on connection, something shifted. Last I heard from them, about 8 months later, they were like newlyweds again. That's not an exaggeration. Those were his words. So, gentlemen, here's the takeaway from everything we've discussed today. Stop relying on tired, ineffective foreplay tricks that you've been doing for years out of habit. Start embracing this full body-to-body flow with presence and intention. Remember, it's not about perfection. You're not performing for an audience. It's about genuine connection with your partner. If you bring presence, if you touch with clear intention, if you stay responsive to her signals, and if you keep variety alive, you'll unlock a form of foreplay that rarely fails. But perhaps most importantly, talk to your partner. Communication isn't separate from technique. It's the foundation that makes technique work. Now, if you found this helpful, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more honest, practical guidance on men's health. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. I genuinely love seeing our community of men from all over the world supporting each other. And most of all, don't give up. Age is absolutely not the end of passion. With some adjustments in approach, with open communication, and with willingness to be present and responsive, you can bring back comfort, confidence, and genuine connection in your intimate life. I'm Dr. Amelia Wright, and I'll see you in the next video.